News Rants, a podcast about news stories that could get a bit ranty. All views expressed on News Rants are those of myself and any contributors. Hello and welcome to another episode of the News Rants podcast. I'm Paul, and well, if you were looking at the news yesterday, you might know what has happened. So, I'll give you a clue, shall I? These guys were up to their old tricks again. That's Extinction Rebellion, the nutters that seem to think that if they glue themselves together or chain themselves to things, the government will listen to them and give in to their stupid climate demands. So this is an organisation which, in my opinion, I think should be a proscribed terrorist organisation given their activities. So this is their website here that you are seeing. So if I go back to what I'm looking at for the YouTube recording. So why are they doing such an absolutely stupid thing? Why are they doing that? I don't know. But yesterday, here's what they did. They invaded the House of Commons after breaking away from a group of tourists that were, well, having a tour of the Houses of Parliament, because there are public tours, but I don't think they're going to be available anymore. So, I'm going to just switch back to my usual background image for those of you watching on the YouTube channel, because I don't really want to keep Extinction Rebellion's website up for too long and give them any advertising. Because why would I want to advertise something that's going to be a proscribed terrorist organisation? Well, you know, they are utter hypocrites anyway, especially their founder, Gail Bradbrook, who drives a diesel car. I'm not going to ever let her forget that. So, you know, I don't like them. I'm pretty sure the British public don't like them. So there you go. So, let's have a look at what they had to say for themselves when they invaded the House of Commons and then glued themselves around the Speaker's chair.
Living scandal while polluting companies get rich. We are in crisis, and what goes on in this room every single day makes a joke out of all of us. We cannot afford to go on like this. We need a new way of making decisions, where more voices are heard, not just those at the top. We need the true diversity of this country to be represented. We need a citizens' assembly.
Cameras away, please.
That was Extinction Rebellion, glued around the Speaker's chair in the House of Commons. What gave them the right to do that? They don't have a right to do that. They have no right whatsoever to just go into one of the most secure buildings in the country and then glue themselves around the Speaker's chair in the House of Commons. No. What they were wanting there was, well, getting rid of Parliament, basically. A citizens' assembly. Really? No. Because your idea of a citizens' assembly is basically anything that supports the green movement. And guess what? There's a cost of living crisis going on, partly because the government has already given in to your ridiculous demands. No. We do not want to do what you want to do. So, just go away. We don't like you very much. In fact, if we did like you, we would probably support you. But we don't. Because what you want to do is basically a citizens' assembly that basically promotes this stupid green agenda, which would outlaw oil, gas, petrol, diesel, whatever, which we cannot afford to do, because in your ideal world, everything would be powered by windmills and solar panels, which are not any good. So why do you think that you can just get away with doing this sort of stuff? No. Let's see, gluing yourselves together around the Speaker's chair in the House of Commons isn't going to win you any favours with the public. chaining yourselves by the neck to the railings outside the Houses of Parliament isn't going to do you any favours with the public. I don't believe there is a climate crisis. I believe it's all a big scam, probably funded by the World Economic Forum, which would not surprise me, and William Henry Gates III, the founder of Microsoft. I refuse to call him by the name that everyone else calls him. Yeah, I bet that's where you're getting all your bloody funding from. Those people. So, why not just please go away? We don't like you. We don't like Extinction Rebellion. We don't like all your splinter organisations either, like Animal Rebellion, who's planning to blockade all the dairies, which is absolutely stupid. And then, well, what else have we got? You got to Just Stop Oil. Yeah, who at the moment are tunnelled under a road somewhere near a fuel depot, basically risking being crushed to death by trucks going over that road because they've somehow managed to make it so thin that the weight of a truck's probably going to cause it to cave in. Yeah, it's just stupidity and it needs to stop. You're basically acting like domestic terrorists. And the sooner the Home Office proscribe Extinction Rebellion and all those other green type organisations as proscribed terrorist organisations, then how about we just then live in peace? You can't do it. There is no climate crisis. It's a big scam to make the rich rich and the poor poor. That's what it is. So I'm not going to stand idly by and allow organisations like that to ruin the lives of working people like me. You know, I'm not going to allow that. Do you think I would? No. In fact, why would I want to allow an organisation like Extinction Rebellion to go around causing havoc and mayhem? In fact, they actually have plans to do that. I've had a look at a press release on the Extinction Rebellion website, and I'm going to have another look at it. So, if I go into their latest one, which was released yesterday, they've got 5 little aims here. Phase 1, a curtain raiser action prior to the 10th and mass London and UK wide paint the streets on the evening of Friday 9th of September. Phase 2, meet at Marble Arch on September the 10th for 3 days of deliberative democracy, community building and resistance in an undisclosed disruptive green space. Yeah, they're trying to cover their tracks so the police can't get to them that quickly. Phase 3, rebellion buses powered by diesel, I hasten to add, will tour the country over 4 weeks, hosting people's assemblies, meeting and hearing from local groups and communities, engaging in intensive mobilisation. They sound like they're militant. They are militant. Phase 4, on the 14th of October, we invite everyone to come back to Westminster, London, for disruptive, non-violent, civil disobedience to join forces with other groups organising around the cost of living scandal. But they caused the cost of living scandal. So why are they protesting against something that's their fault? Phase 5, and they call this the big one. This will centre major government disruption over a prolonged period until the government agrees to empower an independent citizens' assembly on climate and ecological justice. I'll tell you what climate and ecological justice really means. It means we scrap net zero. That's justice. And they've put 3 notes to editors here, one citing the Independent newspaper, which is not a trusted source for news rants, one citing Ipsos, and another one citing the Independent, and one citing their own website. And there's a bit about Extinction Rebellion at the bottom, which I'm not going to read out to you, because why would anyone want to bother? Because only a stupid person would want to be a member of an organisation like Extinction Rebellion, because if you go out to protest with Extinction Rebellion, chances are you're going to be found in the back of a police van at the end of the day, or in a cell at the local Nick. So, that's assuming the police are going to actually do their job. But they did at Westminster because, well, you know, the Houses of Parliament are, in fact, one of the most secure buildings in the world, and it usually has a high police presence, considering we've had some terrorist attacks there in recent years. So, I just don't understand how a group from Extinction Rebellion managed to break away from a tour group, because that's how they got in the first place. They paid for a tour, public tour. You can actually get these through the UK Parliament website for a tour of the building. But how did they get to one of the most secure rooms in Britain? Unfortunately for them, it didn't really make too much of a difference because the government weren't there. No MPs were there. They're all on recess at the moment. And I think they've tried to go after Boris Johnson and Priti Patel and others. But there's probably going to be a cabinet reshuffle after Monday. Who knows? I don't know. But, why do this? We're not going to get on your side if you just keep locking yourselves to things, gluing yourselves to things, hiding in hidey holes underneath things. We're not going to support you. We don't intend to support you. Net zero is a big scam. The climate crisis that you so cry on about is really a big scam, being possibly funded by the World Economic Forum, as I said, because I don't trust the World Economic Forum either. And also, Extinction Rebellion is full of hypocrites that probably drive around in petrol and diesel cars anyway. Well, I know the founder of the organisation, Gail Bradbrook, does. I'm going to keep mentioning that because it's worth mentioning, because she is an utter hypocrite. So, why bother? If you think I'm wrong in what I'm saying, I am open to talk to you. I'm open to discuss things in a civilised manner. I wouldn't want to argue, because I won't argue. I will let you have your say, and then I will have my say. If you try cutting me off, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, so if you really think I'm wrong, and you want to have a civilised discussion, I'm open to the idea. But as far as I'm concerned, Extinction Rebellion, really at the moment, their behaviour makes them look like a proscribed militant terrorist organisation. Yeah. So, unfurling banners on the Houses of Parliament, on the Palace of Westminster, no, that's a big no, you shouldn't be doing that. Getting into the House of Commons, no, you shouldn't have done that. I'm pretty sure security dealt with you and the police arrested every single one of you. Now, if we go to protesters like Stop Brexit man Steve Bray, he's actually banned from going on College Green. He's not allowed anywhere near the House of Commons. He's not even allowed on that estate. So, that's a ban specific to him, because he's a general nuisance. You lot are worse than him. You're not domestic terrorists. That's what you are. I want you to stop with your stupidity. You're like a cult that worships that stupid Swedish truant teenager Greta Thunberg. The less said about her the better, because she really makes me angry. Because unfortunately I have something in common with her, and she disgusts me. Anyway, Extinction Rebellion. Just stop. I've already told your friends at Just Stop Oil to just stop. So I'm telling you to just stop. You can't invade the Palace of Westminster to get into the House of Commons and demand a citizens' assembly that basically for the green agenda, for what you want, not for what the people want. The people don't want net zero. The people don't want green agenda, drive around in electric cars, which are going to cost more than a petrol and diesel car to refuel. So there you go. Why would you bother? Because I certainly wouldn't bother. In fact, if it was up to me, I'm happy to drive around in my petrol car, and if I was the Prime Minister, net zero would not be a thing, fracking would be happening, regardless of protests. Drilling for more oil and gas in the North Sea would be happening, regardless of protests. Because we need to be energy independent. If you've not noticed, the Russians cut off the gas supply to Germany. So, there you go, there's a lesson learned. Because there's no gas coming from Germany to the UK, because Russia have cut off the Nord Stream 1 pipeline, then we're going to be a bit short of gas. But we don't get that much gas from there anyway. We get it mostly from, well, Norway, I think. I'm not sure how it gets there in the first place. But we've also got the North Sea oil and gas rigs going, and hopefully more will come on stream. And we'll fracking. Because the next Prime Minister, which I'm assuming to be Liz Truss, unless I find out different, is hopefully going to start drilling for more oil and gas and get us energy independent. Because we need to use fossil fuels. More coal, more oil, more gas. Simple as that. You can't stop us from doing that. And you can't have your citizens' assembly. Because guess what Parliament is? It's a citizens' assembly. Because anyone could register to put their name down to run as an MP in an election. If they lose the election, then, yeah, they lose their deposit. Basically, if they don't get enough votes. But that's what some people want to do. They want to put their name down onto a ballot paper and run as a candidate for MP in elections, because that's the way you make change in this country. You don't do it by chaining yourselves to things and gluing yourselves to things. If you really want change, put yourselves down as a candidate in any constituency you want. It doesn't have to be London. I mean, the chances of you actually getting enough votes to become an MP isn't that great, because most people either vote Labour or Conservative. So, you know. But I don't like your behaviour. I don't like it at all. It's not on. This green movement has to stop. The flooding in Pakistan, that's not caused by climate change, as you say. That was caused by a hell of a lot of rain. That has nothing to do with man changing the climate because of fossil fuel emissions. Nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with the use of fossil fuels. The ice caps are not melting, like you think they are. All the scaremongering that you put out about the Great Barrier Reef was all BS, because that's doing quite well. There's more coral there than ever. So that's saying something. And, well, in the grand scheme of things, the Earth isn't dying. We've just had a bit of a hot summer, that's all. There's nothing going wrong with the climate that is anything to do with mankind. So, the extinction part of Extinction Rebellion, you know, that makes no sense at all, because we're not going to be going extinct anytime soon. We've got a long time left before we do. So, you're just hurting democracy by causing security breaches at the Palace of Westminster. Because that really does hurt democracy. Because we do live in a democracy, we do not live in a dictatorship. So, we're all free to do what we damn well please within the law. But you lot seem to think you can do what you please that breaks the law, which includes trespass. What else does it include? Criminal damage. Breach of the peace. Yeah. There you go. That's pretty much summed up all of the stuff that you're going to end up getting done for. So, I think that about covers that. So, this was a news rants on the godforsaken, hopefully proscribed terrorist group, Extinction Rebellion. If they think I'm wrong, they have a right of reply. News Rants 2022 on Twitter. They can speak to me there if they want, because that's where they can find me. Unless they manage to find my personal Twitter account, which I don't particularly care if they do or they don't. So these greenies do have a right of reply to try and argue why I might be wrong, because that's how a democracy works. I could be wrong, but I might not be wrong. I might be completely right. So you can find News Rants on Twitter at NewsRants2022. Buy me a coffee. That link's in the podcast description. And yeah. And you can catch us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and in video, if you're watching in video, on YouTube. So, thanks for listening to, or watching, another News Rants. And this one was on those god-awful imbeciles, terrorists, whatever you want to call them, eco-terrorists, I'd call them, from Extinction Rebellion. So I'll catch you in the next News Rants.